Cool, welcome everybody. Nice to see you. We probably will expect a few more people coming in as well at some point, but let's get started for now because we are all here. Cool, so first of all, just a little bit of housekeeping stuff. Just make sure you're all on mute. And if you want to turn your camera off, that's also totally fine. The sessions will be recorded, so that's also a reason if you don't want to be on YouTube, then please, turn your video off as well. If you want to put your pronouns and your Zoom name, that would be really helpful so we know how to call you. And tech support is me today. Em's had to drop out because they have got COVID, which really sucks. So it's just me today. So drop us a message if you're struggling with tech, because I've got that on another account. And then questions and comments, just drop them in the chat if you need anything. Cool, so the content today is essentially it's about community, and it's about bringing people together and what happens when we bring people together. So we're going to explore a little bit about, first of all, what community is, some definitions, some different ways of thinking about what community means. Then we're going to go into breakouts, looking at the pros and cons of collaboration, and I'm sure everyone has lots of stories to tell. Then we're going to go into introducing systems and the idea of power. Then we're going to have a little break. Next, we're going to have a discussion around collaboration and resource sharing, seeing if there's any possibilities between the people here of sharing skills or resources, and trying to kind of bring people in the way. And then we're going to just find a way to keep connected. We've set up some channels, so we should be able to keep everyone connected after this event as well. So don't worry if we don't cover everything that you want to cover. Then a little bit of Q&A, and then a little checkout. So let's get started. Cool. So what is community? So this is something that everyone thinks about from time to time, I think. Something that we all seem to need, and sometimes we don't know how to get it. So community is formed around something that we all share. That could be so many different things. I'm just going to load up for the next thing. So it could be family or friends, by blood or adoption, kin, relative or association. Could be neighborhood, just like people in your area that could also be part of your community. Work, or when you're trying to achieve a purpose. So that could be around making money or meeting needs, or you just like kind of working towards something. And then interests, that kind of links quite well. So interests are, like shared vision or passion around certain things, music, politics, or belief, usually the most common things. And these are all ways in which we can connect with each other. So like I'm sure everyone here has various connections on all these different levels. But for me, there's something around community that brings people together and connects through something that we share. And when we share something, we can connect a lot deeper than we would if we didn't share things. I think that's why I'm so passionate about sharing as well. So there's also kind of like two different types of community, the way that I see it. And we have situational community, which is just like where you are, the people around you, the situations you arrive in your life. And then there's intentional community. Some people here today, I know, are setting up projects and working on projects similar to what Wild Horizons are looking to do. And this would be an example of an intentional community, a place where we come together to design and co-create our own community or our own world, really. So that was very, very quick. As there's only a few of us here, it might be interesting to have a little kind of go around, maybe like 1 minute each of who we are, what we are up to, and if there's any projects we're kind of currently working on. Let's have a look. So we could do it in a popcorn style, which means I pass it to somebody and then you can pass it on to someone else. Does that work for everybody? Okie dokie. Well, we'll start with you then, Bruford. I'll pass it over to you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Bruford. I identify as he. Until about 6 weeks ago, I was one of 4 people involved in trying to set up or wanting to set up an intentional co-housing community, and we were looking at South Wales. We hit the usual stumbling block of not being able to get planning permission, and after that, plus the pandemic, it was 2 couples, and the other couple have decided to pull out of the project. And my partner also has other things going on, which leaves me on my own. And I've now got a new project, which is a much smaller scale thing, which is about creating a small venue, an open air venue, so a piece of land for what I call part-time or temporary tribes, of which I am a member of several. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm looking to buy a little piece of land and put some huts, yurts, etc. on it, and a space for camping and some facilities, and to host people who want to get together into community or tribes on a part-time basis, because that seems to be what people can manage. So that's me. I'll pass over to Stu.
I'll try unmuting first of all, that might go better. We're only on a Chromebook, so I can't actually see everybody, so I'm going to struggle to pass on. But yeah, my name's Stu, my partner Dana. We are currently in the process of selling our house, moving into our van with our 2 boys, and heading off on an exploration with the intention of buying some land either on our own or with other people who are like-minded and part of our tribe stroke community. And yeah, so we're just at the beginning of our journey, really, and very excited to be meeting lots of other people who also seem to be at the beginnings of their journeys or further through their journeys, and learning as we go. Yeah, I might pass on to you because I can see you're here.
Yeah, I think you kind of explained our situation, really. Yeah, we've been woofing and yeah, just trying to sort of meet people, really, and find out what people are up to and learn and network. So yeah, I think that's us. I can't, yeah, we can't see anybody, so yeah, I'm afraid somebody else will have to just...
We'll pass on to Jo, because I know she's here.
Hi, yeah, I'm Jo. I'm part of a project called Bedwenfach, which has been meeting for about a year, planning to do a land-based intentional community using probably the One Planet Development Planning Permission Scheme. We've been, developing stuff, for quite a while, but it still feels like we're totally at the beginning and there's a massive mountain still to go. That's like the main thing to mention in this circumstance. Yeah, just generally very interested in the benefits of living communally. I will pass to...
I think I'm the last one. Johanna, yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Johanna. I'm probably the only one, I think, who hasn't really, I'm not looking at moving into like intentional community or stuff very much at this time. To me, I think community is more, I mean, for me in my day-to-day life right now, I'm a dancer. I have a lot of dance community, which has been kind of stretched and distorted and worn down over the pandemic. But I think the parts of that community that are worth keeping have kind of grown into other bits of community. But I'm kind of just interested in community in general. And yeah, I'm not like, I think it sounds lovely to live in an intentional community at some point, but I'm not at the stage where I'm kind of looking at that right now. But I do, I do like to think about what makes a community and who's involved, what makes someone inside a community and outside a community, and also in terms of kind of ownership or things like land rights or gentrification or things like that. Yeah, I went to the event last week and really liked it, so I'm doing these other ones too. So yeah, that's me.
Brilliant, thank you, and really nice to hear from everyone. Everyone's got such cool things going on, so it's always nice to hear that. I'm Ryan, and yeah, I'm part of Wild Horizons. We are working towards a land project in South Wales as well, so we should definitely get in touch, Bruford, and have a chat. And also I'm aware Bedouin backers as well. Yeah, so we're doing that, and in the meantime, whilst we don't have land, we're kind of doing some skill and resource sharing and building a network of people who are interested in social change and regeneration. So yeah, so that's kind of like my main passion at the moment. Yeah, really collaboration and working with bringing people together is kind of what I'm about at the moment. So yeah, so that's everybody, and I think maybe we should go into a breakout. So yes, so here we're just going to explore, we're going to put you in two groups and we're going to explore the two different things going on. So what are the benefits and advantages in one group, and any challenges or disadvantages of working in a group on the other group. Let me just have a look at how to do a breakout room and I'll get you going. Okay, so I'll do 2 rooms, automatic. Let's try this. Cool. And we're going to do this for about 10 minutes. So yeah, I'll see you in about 10 minutes.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, I've just kind of come out of a breakout room because we were in breakout rooms just then. So I've just come out to say hello. Yeah, and there's another couple of people joining as well.
Oh, cool. Yeah, sorry, I was late. I was busy.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. They're only going to be about 2 minutes anyway.
Cool.
And that gives me a little bit of time to share my screen again. Hi, Hannah.
Hi.
Yeah, so we're just people are just in breakout rooms, but there'll be like 1 or 2 minutes, and this is what we've been discussing. We kind of went over a little bit around defining community at the beginning, and seeing that there's various different types of community. It could be like work, or could be a local area, or it could be something that we align upon around a certain idea, like music, or yeah, politics, or whatever. And then yeah, we've kind of just come together, shared a little bit, come together, and then gone into little breakout rooms. Okay, everyone is about to come back in. Yeah, where are you guys based at the moment?
I'm in Northamptonshire.
Cool.
Reading for me, but I used to live in Northamptonshire.
Okay, so coming back into the session now. Dokie.
Recording in
I think that's everybody back. Just welcoming in Anna and Hannah, who have also just arrived whilst everyone was in the rooms. Yeah, okay, let's go to the next slide. So yeah, so I'd just like to hear from you guys really about what came up in that harvest, like what in that session, what was there anything particular that you were like, oh yeah, really relate, like this is something that's really good or really hard to do in communities, and this, or is it like this is something that was really like something which actually gives us like strength and yeah, like benefits. Yeah, does anyone have any feedback? You could pop it in the chat or just raise your hand if you'd like to do that instead. Bruford.
Yeah, we had a good discussion, and there was quite a lot of agreement about what the advantages were, and the list. My list of advantages is twice as long as the disadvantages, which is a good thing.
Nice, that's good to hear.
But I mean, one of the key ones was about sharing resources, skills, and labour, and also collectively using fewer resources as a group than you would if you were all living in little boxes, or you know, the idea that collective, the saving that accrues from collectivism. Quite a lot about support and the idea of a group being non-hierarchical, power with rather than power over, and more quality time. And those were the advantages, clearly.
Nice one, thank you. Yeah, the saving things because of collectivism is really, really powerful, I think, and something that we are trying to do a lot here at the house that we live, is share resources and kind of build pots of money, so then things are always accruing and like building up, and that goes for energy, and that goes for like anything that we're putting our time and energy into, really. Yeah, even food, if there's like a little bit of food left after a meal, for example, that you've only cooked for like 3, then yeah, there's always a little bit left. So it's nice to kind of have that reciprocal and accumulative thing going on. Cool. What about any kind of negative things, any problems or struggles that people have experienced when living in community?
Again, from our group, the risk of conflict not being dealt with properly. I think we said that conflict was inevitable, but it's how you resolve that conflict, and having a system for resolution, but also the problems that accrue if conflicts are ducked and avoided.
Would that be like people avoiding conflict, or the group avoiding conflict?
Well, I think perhaps the idea that you know, people will not deal with an issue and let it fester, and it becomes a serious problem because you've got stuff going on that's not healthy to the group.
Cool, thank you. Joe, were you about to say something as well?
I put one in the chat, I think.
Oh, yes. Yeah, got it. Yeah.
Cool.
So Joe's put about, communities creating accidental segregation from other communities or the wider community. Yeah, that's a big one, especially when we're talking about creating intentional community. And yeah, perfect example of that is the Osho story and what they did when they just took over a town, and like didn't really pay much respect for the locals at all. It's quite weird when lots of crazy hippies arrive. Cool, and then Joe's put stuff about oppression as well. Okay, yeah. So difficult to erase things around oppression. Nice. Any other points, anyone? Cool. Okay, so a little range of things there. Nice one. All right. So we kind of got a nice balance of things there. We got like, variety of like positives and a variety of negatives. For me, I feel like negatives in community groups, or when we're working together as part of a group, is often the result of lack of clarity. And so it's really, really important to try and build things around clarity in your group. This term, like, you can never be too clear, has come up a lot recently. Even if you think you're being really, really clear, it turns out that it can be really hard just to communicate in the first place, and everyone's in such different places a lot of the time. It's really hard to kind of create that connection and then communicate effectively. So so I'm just going to share the next slide. So we're just going to talk a bit about systems. So if we don't design our systems, we inherit them. We bring with us baggage, and we bring with us the conditions of the culture that we are born into and the things that we've learned and grown with over the years. So just want to introduce this idea of living systems. So the living systems is a framework that's developed by Nikki Kashtan and Dominic Barter at different times in different places. And then that's then been kind of reinterpreted by Paul and Jana at Navigate Cooperative. Navigate Co-op are a community development and facilitation project. They provide facilitation and like mediation and things like that, as well as doing educational stuff around building systems. So yeah, the challenges that we often face in collaboration are systemic. And I just wanted to talk a bit about this idea of implicit versus explicit. So especially in like radical left groups, we can often think that we don't need systems, or, you know, the system is the problem. Sometimes it is, but we often forget that we bring with us systems all the time. So if you think that you don't have a system for your group, that's not true. You do have a system. It's just an implicit system. And so when we're talking about being explicit about our systems, it means making sure that we are the people designing them and being really conscious and aware about what we do with our systems. So what do we mean by systems? There's like many different types. I really don't know many different ones except these ones: democracy, sociocracy, and holacracy. Yeah, I'm sure there's tons of different ones. If anyone knows of any others, check them in the chat. That'd be great. Yeah, and then so this is the idea of preconditions in systems as well. So for example, does everybody agree or engage in decisions? Does everybody know how to reach agreement, for example? Is everybody on board with the idea of having a system in the first place, which is another one? Information, does everybody have access to the information that they need? Access, that's again. And then resource capacity, does everybody have the resources or the energy or the time that they need to create the work that they need to do within the group? So just a kind of overview on the living system format. Decision making is a really big one. Most of the time we make decisions. Sometimes we don't really think about how we make decisions. We just make them on a kind of informal basis. Yeah, it's really important to kind of start to think about how you make decisions within your project, or how if you don't have a say in how things are decided, then it's really good to be aware of who does, and how you can have an influence in that, if possible. Information flow, this is a classic one. Where is the information that is needed, and can everyone have access to that information? I think we've all probably been in situations where we don't have enough information, so we can't make the decision, which seems to stop communication happening between people in groups. Yeah. Resources are also really big, and we see this a lot in mainstream capitalist culture, where resources aren't flowing to where they're best placed and where they are of actual need and purpose. Yeah, often it just goes to people who have bottlenecked that resource, and they're holding on to as much resource as possible. So when we're talking about being conscious about our systems and being conscious about collaboration, it's really important to start to think about, does everyone in the group have access to what they need in order to achieve the vision? Conflict engagement, something that Brieford brought up. Yeah, what happens if there's conflict? Yeah, do we know how to deal with it? And then how does the system come to us when we most need it? So a good example of this is like an ambulance. So like when you're in a real crisis, we generally know what to do. Like if we're in an emergency situation, we can call an ambulance, 999. We know that system can come to us. And that's a really nice metaphor to think about. How can you create the conflict engagement system in your group that means that when you really, really need it, it can come to you. So you don't have to kind of try and figure out what to do when you're in a crisis. We see, yeah, conflict seems to ruin a lot of community groups. And so that's a real big one that I think we should all be aware of. Care, support, and connection. Yeah, how do we look after each other, and other ways that we can support each other as well? How do we nurture our relationships? There's little things like that, like having a conversation at the start of your meeting just to check in to see if everyone's all right, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's very important to build that kind of sense of community and connection just by being honest with each other. Yeah, this one's really lacking in the work situation as well. And the final system here is feedback. So what are the pathways to sharing how things have been going? Who gets to give feedback, and how is feedback integrated? Yeah. So like, it's all very well having a system for let's say decision making, but what happens if it's a place that we can go at certain times? Is there a space that we can express this? And how is that then brought back into the system? I feel like feedback is a big one in mainstream culture, capitalist society. Like, actually, if you had a problem with the government right now, what is your feedback system? Like, we can maybe, you know, write a letter or something, but are they going to listen to it? So yeah, so this is just a very quick overview of various types of various systems to think about for your projects. And then running through all of this is power. So yeah, power versus authority. This often we get confused about the meaning of power and think that power is a real negative thing that we must confront and challenge all the time. And that's totally true if the power is imbalanced. So there's various different types of power. Yeah, most of the time power is this one, the first one, power over. Yeah, usually built on force, coercion, domination, and control, and motivates largely through fear. So it's a lot more like authority than power. And I feel like what a lot of us talk about when we say that we are against power in terms of the government situation, I think it's a lot of the time it's authority that we're against. Or with shared power, this is the closest thing to community that I can see really. It's built on respect, mutual support, shared power, solidarity, influence, empowerment, and collaborative decision making. Power two, so the power to ride my bike every day, for example, the power to, yeah, the power to be empowered would be the sense of freedom that you get. And then power within, the final thing, so more about like self-worth and self-knowledge. So do I feel empowered in myself to be able to bring that somewhere? Something that only we can get and nobody can give to us, really. But this I would kind of define as strength, and we all kind of flux in and out of this. So with all of these, this like power runs through everything essentially. And it's not power that we're afraid of, authority. Yeah, we want to be empowered, all of us. Okay, so how does power manifest in yourself, your community, and the world? I'm just going to send you a little link in the chat. You can also, if you've got a cell phone and you're kind of techie like this, you can scan that code. But I'm going to post the link in a moment into the chat. And then this will take us to a really cool little interactive thing. Let me get it. Yeah. Sorry, I'm struggling to do 10 things at once today. Okay. That should be in the chat right now. And if you click on that link, it'll take you to a thing called Mentimeter, which is a way that you can respond to this question, and then we'll see it on the screen. So yeah, so I'm just gonna, if you wanna, guys wanna fill that in, I'll just go to the results page, and in theory, you should see it. Yeah, so how does it manifest in the world and yourself? So is it like, yeah, it could be like, for example, I feel really empowered to be able to like be part of creating a workshop, for example. I have the skills that I've learned to be able to put stuff together. I have the community and the group to be able to do that. And I feel kind of confident enough to try. So yeah, that's just one form of power. How does power show up in your community as well? Does that look like? Power to, I have the power to choose how I feel in any situation. Wow, that's an impressive power. I guess that's like power within. This one. Yeah, it's an interesting one around COVID with power. Very complicated situation about the parameters of power right now, isn't it? We have to kind of trust to a degree certain things from the government that we might not usually trust. And so, yeah, taking personal responsibility is a big thing right now. Yeah, like fractal power. I guess this third one is bubbles of different types of power nested within each other. Yeah, nice. Cool. Are people still writing, or maybe just show of hand if you're ready to move on? Rupert might be still writing. Ah, cool. More things. The power to influence cultural stories. Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. They're expected to have an address. Okay, yeah. Static place to live. So that would be, yeah, something around like freedom of movement, I suppose, the power to travel. Everyone's been affected by that recently as well. Nice. Okay, cool. Thanks for that, everyone. So yeah, lots of different ways that power can show up And I think that when we start to think about power in terms of all these different ways, we can start to then see it where it shows up. So we can identify it in ourselves when we feel empowered, or we can identify it in oppressive forms or different forms, or power imbalance as well. Because really that's the main thing about power that is important to consider, is how is power shared, and is power something that is only of access to certain people? So yeah, culturally we're always dealing with this level of power imbalance. Yeah, and that's why we're all here really, I guess, to try and change that. Cool. So yeah, quite a quick introduction on various things, systems and power, and nice to hear from you guys too. So yeah, let's just take a 10-minute break, come back for about just after 7. Yeah, and then we can start talking about sharing things together. All right. Cool. See you guys in 10. Okay, so people are starting to come back now. Slowly but surely. Oh, we have a new person, Jay.
Hello.
Hello, Jay.
I'm too late, but I just saw it in the email and I was wondering what it is. It's a completely new experience for me. I wanted to join before, but I couldn't make it. I didn't make it. But yeah, now I just thought I saw the email and I thought I'd just listen what it is, what kind of room it is and what's going on here. The subject is interesting for sure.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, we're just kind of discussing various different types of group collaboration. Yeah, kind of exploring some of the power dynamics that happen in community groups and working together. Yeah, and then kind of in a moment, we're going to go into a session and just look at resources. What resources might we have when we're working together in a group, and seeing if we can match some resources. So yeah, seeing if there's things that people have that we might benefit from and vice versa. I can also send you the slides tomorrow when, yeah, after the session. You can catch up then.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, if everybody is back, I think Dana and Stu, not sure if you're back, Hannah and Joanna. Yep, nice one. Great. Yeah, let's move on. Okay, so this is the exciting bit. 1 second. So yeah, so this is the exciting bit. So clearly COVID has brought up a lot of problems for a lot of people. Everything's changing in various ways. And I feel like it's really important, or not really important, it's really, it's a real good time actually to think about what it is that we want to bring into the world. What does that look like? You know, lots of us have had time to ourselves for the first time ever in the past couple of years. And that, I'm sure that's opened up a lot of possibilities of things that you might be interested in seeing in the world, or things that you would like to do, but maybe you haven't had the time or energy before. And when it comes to creating something or building a group or doing something in the community, yeah, like there's so many benefits from collaboration that it's, yeah, like some of the things that we would try and do on our own would be possible without a group. And so I just want to look at this question for a bit, and if you could pop some stuff in the chat as you think of it. So yeah, what do you want to create in the world beyond COVID? So there's so many different things that we could create. Lots of people, some people here are already talking about intentional community, creating different housing needs. Yeah, potentially working as a group, as a workers cooperative or something like that as well. That seems to be coming up quite a bit. Yeah, or even something really simple, just like sharing your skills. And that could be sharing your skills to your local community, or it could even be like family. Sometimes, you know, like we don't share things within families. And there's many, many things that we could all benefit from if we did decide to share or try to. So yeah, so is there anything that's coming up for you around this question? What do you want to create? So yeah, either pop it in the chat or just raise your hand and I'll unmute you. Dana's got a good one here. Space for natural evolutionary processes. Yeah, I'm gonna put in bioregeneration too. So like, yeah, never has there been a better time to regenerate the ecosystem to now. And if we're thinking a little bit about power as well, going back to the slide we were talking about before, yeah, like bringing in power to these situations. What do you have the power to do? What can you do right now that you feel is beneficial to the world, that you really want to see going forward? Nice. What opportunities for people to experience community? Yeah. Owned hyperlocal food systems. Let's get our polytunnel set up then. Accessible ways to create co-housing for those who live in the city. Yeah, totally. And there are so many different ways of doing living in intentional community, even, you know, bypassing the landlord and just creating your own agreements between the people who live together as co-tenants. The landlord doesn't necessarily have to know how you live, in theory. So there are little things like that we could do. Oh, circular economy. Claiming abandoned green spaces more in urban areas. Yeah, cool. So like, yeah, some kind of, I'm a real fan of like occupations of land and space. When it's being wasted, it's kind of a duty to bring it back. network of tribes. So we're seeing a lot around around food security, which is nice. And circular economy, yeah. Nice.
Yeah, sorry, I put now a lot in the chat because it's really fitting to what I was occupied in the last years already, 4 years now.
Okay.
But it starts with the big change, with the big picture, because and then to come down, because now we need this really big changes globally, united simultaneously, and start from there. We don't make it anymore if we start with our individual surrounding, and so it must become a kind of global human atomic chain reaction to change the whole thing, that we come together as one world. And there's only one way to come together as one world, finally.
Yeah, I really like that. And that's, I guess, it gets really, really important then when it comes to linking together in terms of, you know, is that kind of federations of people? Is it diverse groups coming together with diverse needs and diverse ideas? It becomes really important then to create super agreements about how things are cooperating. Like, how do we cooperate? Essentially, there's many different ways to do it, but yeah, it's really good to be clear on these things when we're, so that we don't bring our kind of systemic violence that we've been raised with into our groups and into the new world. Totally.
Yeah, I think we have something very important to consider, and this is, we have this monetary-based economy globally since a couple of thousand years, and if we now in this situation where we have to act like in World War times against the climate catastrophe and the ecological breakdown and so on, and then now only globally united, and as long as we now use monetary means in these situations, the 500 companies, all companies, but especially the 500 largest companies, are in a big financial battle. And there are the blocks, the military blocks, all connected, that everybody is forced to sell as much as possible. And this is a kind of stupid construction like this. And this is like the reactor core of the problem right now. But we can solve this because we have now another organizational mean, what we could use as implement as an organizational basis for humanity. And that's completely new. It's global networking, the networks. And we can set them up in a way that the world could come together on a very low level to begin with, and then to fight against the climate catastrophe all together, not in against each other, forced by the monetary means.
Yeah, totally. Never has there been a better time for the potential for global network. So the potential is there. It's what we do with it, isn't it? Cool. Yeah. So is there any other final points before we move on? Is there anything that you're really passionate about that you'd like to share that you're working towards? Okay. Let's go to the next slide. Sorry, I just noticed Dana put in the chat, new ways to educate and nurture our children. Absolutely. And if we're not doing that, then what hope have we got, really? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to look a bit about resources now. We've got about 15 minutes before we finish up. But yeah, in terms of resources, like, we can define resources in two ways. So you can have tangible resources or intangible resources. Tangibles like land, tools, property, money, physical things that get or do physical things. And then we can talk about intangible, which is like time, energy, or ability. So some of this intangible stuff's really hard to quantify, really hard to measure or see. And so much of the time, intangible resources are really kind of wasted or just not acknowledged at all. So there's that kind of like emotional labor or labor of different people who things don't get recognized. Yeah, this would all be kind of an expense of intangible resources. And yeah, what I want to do now is just have a little bit of a map of resources, really. What do we have and what do we need? So trying to think about this right now in terms of these 7 or 8 people in this room. Yeah, are there certain things that have come up as we're mentioning these things that yeah, there's certain things that you feel like you have an abundance of? Do you have like power? Do you feel empowered on certain levels that you would like to share? And then in contrast to that, are there certain things that you feel like you really need in order to create the things that you want to see in a post-COVID world? So there's like 2 different things there, really. Yeah, and so like, is there anything that's coming up for you guys around resources? Is there anything that you feel like you have lots of and would like to share? Anything that you feel like you have little of and need more of? Yeah, feel free to raise your hand if you'd like as well. Okay, Bruford's put something. Someone who really understands the planning system and how to allow sustainable projects. Okay, so we need to talk.
I totally second that.
Cool. And so, yeah, just from knowing you, Joe, I also know that you and Pete have a fair amount of knowledge when it comes to some things. And I'm wondering if Bruford has something similar, but I think he's emphasized this really understanding because, yeah, who actually knows when it comes to planning permission? Jonah's put something around, yeah, finding more of a network. Yeah, to find people who are interested in similar things, contacts, network, influence, intangible resources.
I was going to say people with knowledge and experience of actually living in successful communities and unsuccessful for that matter, because you can learn as much from them.
Mm. Needs, yeah, more network.
I've really felt a need lately for the intangible resource of knowing how to do good business planning and good financial planning.
Nice. Yeah, and also like bear in mind as these things are coming up, if there's something that you feel like, oh, I'm actually okay with that, maybe I can help, then we're going to find a way to connect you before we finish the session as well. What about resources that we have? What's this one? In the chat. Starts with all the resources of networking we have in order to raise as much as possible overall awareness. So yeah, is that Jay? Is that something around again, around the kind of like creating a network or building an interconnected system. Is that about right?
Well, yeah, finally, we don't have the time to create an own space for this. It's now, for me, it depends on the big digital companies like SAP in Germany, who lay the foundation for the big companies globally. They have the software basis for this, they lay for them, but also Facebook or Google, whatever, and in Russia others, and in China others. But now that all sits together and prepare the foundation, I don't think we make it. We don't have the resources, they have them. And we don't make it to change the governance systems and the political systems globally so fast as we have to do it. For me, it's a kind of that we try to convince them that we have to do it in order to fight, because the monetary system keeps us in separation and in wars. And when they decide they take this over, then and they lay the foundation, and then everybody registers with a basic work time, what he needs roughly for life, and then it's very quickly to show where it can be picked up in shops or whatever. So, and on this basis prepared, it can also be a fallback level for crashes to come, or collapses, societal collapses to come, to be expected. But if this is prepared, then we could make the shift from the monetary system to switch this off to the other in a world simultaneously at one defined point of time, and then it works completely new, the world, from this point on, and then we can fight against the catastrophe altogether. And that's for me let's say the way how this could go. So it's more or less now it's to raise the awareness, and to all the governors, to all the people, to all the companies and industries, and for sure the character of all the political systems, of all the digital companies, of all the people, the character without a monetary incentive and constraints would change immediately to the benefit of all, and to the few of all, that all succeeds and comes together and so on.
Yeah, thanks. So it sounds like, yeah, there's certain things that we can and can't do as individuals, or as kind of people lower down on the kind of ladder of capitalism. I guess in terms of a next step for you, is there anything that comes up that you feel like you have the power to do right now?
Is it to me?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. What I do is that I address and I join all the network spaces what I have, and go politically to parties and governors, but also friends, even if I go for shopping and I get into a conversation, and then I immediately exchange all the material what I have to. And yeah, I think everybody can reach 100, 150 people. And if this is done by all the people, it could go viral as fast as the COVID virus went around the world. And then it would be another level of awareness. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That's nice to hear. And it's good to see so much different stuff coming out here now. Like, yeah, looks like between us here, we have access to tools and land, or experience with tools and land, and community living as well. Community living is something which is, yeah, like it takes practice to work well together, especially now in COVID. So many of us are isolated that we've kind of forgotten how to be social and how to collaborate like as a group physically. So yeah, so like relearning all of that right now is a thing which is definitely of use. I've also put in here internet, because like Joe said, there's so much stuff that we can actually access if we really want to right now. We just have to kind of search for it, which that's quite a unique situation to be into. Facilitation skills, practical skills. Yeah, I'm really wondering if Bruford, we could kind of chat a bit more. yeah, or at least if you could join the Signal group, it'd be really nice to see how we could link these skills that you have to other people here too. Okay.
I don't know if you're looking at people's cameras, but Bruford's got his hand up.
Ah, sorry. Yeah, thanks, Joe. Go for it, Bruford.
I think one of the things that attracts me about communities and groups like this is that I think our way forward, or the way forward, is actually that if we work in small groups and actually do stuff, then it's the collective power of that. I'm slightly, although I've been part of XR, I think trying to address the government and the systems that exist to try and make change feels like a bit of almost a waste of effort, or certainly it's not on its own, it's not going to solve anything. I think if we can get small scale projects off the ground and make success of them, then that becomes a sort of model, a sort of, you know, we're setting an example for other people to follow. You know, once you start talking about getting global, you know, some global movement going, I feel that's, I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to do something really practical and very small scale that's achievable for me in my lifetime, and I'm quite old.
Yeah, I guess they're different strategies to meet the same need, really. Like, I feel like we all kind of want egalitarian culture to a degree. And yeah, like I would say that we would need both. Yeah, we need people fighting in the system, reforming the system and shaping it towards something different. And we also need people fighting against the system in a more revolutionary way and creating things DIY. And they will meet, because they always will, they always do. So yeah, I totally see that. Jay, just one more point from you and then we can move on.
Yeah, just quickly, because you mentioned revolution, and we are really in a state where we need a revolution to survive now even. But the revolution is like the printing press for me. We have now another organizational instrument which could organize the whole world, 7.7 billion people, in a new way, and we could prepare them in a way that all works and doesn't collapse into maybe into a dystopian end time chaos. So and we have this tool now. We could shift to this new developed tool for the first time in human history, and then it would change for sure. Like the printing press was a revolution. It changed all the awareness of the consciousness. The how do you say, I'm in Germany, sorry. The knowledge of people increased a lot with the printing press, and so on. So it's now is even essential for survival. I think we should do both to do what we can do practically, but also to raise awareness to the revolution, that we have a mean to survive, let's say now.
Yeah, thank you. And actually, there's I think you'll be interested in our next series of workshops in November, which is all around capitalism, and potentially how we can use technology for positive ends, if it is at all possible, and how we can go about starting to do that, or finding projects that already are. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so we're coming to the end. I'm just gonna share the screen once more. So yeah, it's time to collaborate. Where can we share things that we have, and are there any points of synergy? So we just did a really micro, like small version of what is possible, by sharing, first of all, mapping our needs and mapping our resources, and then finding ways to collaborate. So let's keep connected is the next step. So we have set up 2 different groups. One is the Culture Beyond COVID Signal chat, specifically for these 3 workshops that we've been doing. I can also put that into the chat right now as well. This is specifically for resource sharing and collaborating, meeting each other, getting to know each other a bit better, and seeing if there's any possible ways that we can share information or yeah, take next steps in terms of collaborating towards this world that we've been talking about. And then we've got the Telegram group on the right here, which is, yeah, that's a little bit more general. If it's just, you just want to meet other people who are like working towards similar things, then that's the one for you. Yeah, I've just shared that into the chat for you there as well. Okay, so what's next? So yeah, we'll send you an email tomorrow, which will have a little bit more information, things to follow on from today. I think we're going to send you some links about systems as well to look at for going forth. Cool. And then find the others. There are other people that think and feel like you, even if it feels like there isn't. Yeah, we can so often just go into our own heads and feel like we're the only ones, but just this little session alone has proven that there are other people who feel the same. And we are all working towards similar ends, if not in a different, if not in their own kind of unique way. Build your systems and use your systems. So yeah, like there's no point in figuring out how we make decisions, or figuring out who decides what, or figuring out who has access to certain things or not, if we don't use them. So yeah, it's up to us to kind of create new systems and start using them, just like Jay was talking about. Yeah, a new world from the ashes of the old. As things crumble, there is an opportunity. Crisis is always an opportunity. And yeah, that's something to leave you with today. So yeah, any thoughts or any final points that anyone wants to bring up or ask? Doesn't look like it. Yeah, so if you want to keep in touch, then we're doing our next workshop next week on our world and humanity, and that's kind of scaling this discussion up to a larger level. Like, how do we work in terms of how do we express solidarity with other struggles around the world? How do we cross collaborate in terms of our projects even more? Yeah, so also there's the website. I think I've posted the Wild Horizons website in there in the chat. Just a little heads up as well, we are looking for new members. So if anyone is interested in creating content, running workshops, yeah, doing anything that you're specifically passionate about when it comes to regeneration and social change, yeah, just drop us a message. Cool, 2 minutes over, but I hope that was helpful in some way. And yeah, be really interested to see anything that you guys share going forward in the Signal group if you can. So yeah, thank you everybody. And yeah, we could all just go off mute for a minute and say bye. It'd be nice to hear everyone's voices before we round up.
It was nice to meet you, all you new people. Hopefully hear from you again.
Yeah, thank you everyone.
Yeah, interesting.
Yep. Thank you for your contributions. It was good fun. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you
Nice
everybody.
one.
Lovely to meet you all.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks
Bye.
everyone. See ya.
Great session.